We're a few days into XDefiant now, and I've been playing around with a ton of weapons, trying to find what works best for me, what I'm feeling good with, and all. And today, I want to share with you some of my findings. In this, I want to talk about 6 weapons you need to be using in XDefiant, or at the very least, try them out. Give them a go, because in the right hands, they dominate. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below. What do you think of the weaponry in XDefiant? Do you have a favorite weapon just yet? Let me know, and make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more XDefiant coverage. We're chasing down 600,000 subscribers this year, and I'd truly love to have you in the community as we talk XDefiant, Black Ops 6, and other FPS content here on the channel. Would love to keep you guys in the loop. But anyways, let's get into the discussion at hand. Let's talk about these 6 weapons you need to be using in XDefiant. First, I'm a rifle main. That goes for just about any FPS title. Doesn't matter which. I love me some ARs, but for me, it's that perfect blend of medium range play where I can pick enemies off at a distance, especially when accurate, and then at close quarters, you might be at a disadvantage, sure, to like an SMG or a shotgun, but it feels more comfortable than, say, an SMG challenging at range when you're out of that range at which your weapon excels. If that makes sense, not sure. But first up, one of my favorites since the first playtests, the ACR. So while technically outclassed by the AK and the M16 in terms of pure damage, to me the ACR feels the most complete. It's got some bounce and recoil, but it can absolutely shred. If you kit this thing for control, maybe even if you want to throw on that heavy barrel once you jump into ranking it up a bit, offering even more weapon damage, this thing will tear through enemies. The recoil is relatively easy to control. It again is definitely noticeable, but all you have to do is just simply pull down slightly and to the left. It's pretty standard in that pattern, but if you can mitigate that, you'll be absolutely frying your enemies. Now, for these builds, while we're talking about weapons in general and trying weapons out first and foremost, not necessarily full-on class builds, I'd say to mitigate recoil control, but in a moderate amount here, because the heavier you go on recoil control, it's going to slow down things like your ADS walking speed, or sprint to fire times, all of which on the ACR is not necessarily suboptimal, but it's not the fastest weapon to begin with. So the more you slow that down, you're just going to put yourself at a more of a disadvantage if you get into a situation where you have to snap to a different enemy or you have to be quick on returning fire. Next, the AK is another one that just feels great all around. Again, it is one that shares the highest statistical damage per shot with the M16, so it is something that is definitely nice. Between the ACR and the AK, those are my 2 favorites to play around with pre-launch, and honestly, probably saw them a ton of the gameplays leading up to the launch of XDefiant, just because they were so fun and honestly really easy to work with. And I'd say the AK is a bit more forgiving in the mobility department, but it is something that you still want to kit it out for an overall balance between mobility and recoil control. If you can be precise with your shots, it's going to be something that managing that recoil, being accurate, you're going to absolutely fry people. And while you'll probably want to rank this up a little bit to get a few attachments, even at base, it's truly not all that bad. 30 rounds by default in a magazine, a rate of fire that's easy to manage and also doesn't fry through that magazine, plus also mixed with the damage. Well, it's just a nice overall weapon to use, I think. Next up, the MDR. This one is gonna kind of close out our rifle category here for the sole fact of if you're newer to the game and you're just seeing this, you might not have access to it just yet. It only takes a few hours to get through in the battle pass, which it is a part of the free tier, so you don't have to buy the battle pass or anything like that in order to obtain it. All you have to do is just simply play enough time to end up earning this. But once you have access to it, genuinely I suggest running this thing in the rifle category because 1, it's incredibly fun, and 2, it shreds through enemies. The MDR is, while weaker in regards to damage, a very fast-firing rifle by comparison. In fact, it's the best in class for fire rate at 765 RPM, beating out the M4A1 by 40 RPM. This thing excels in close range as a result, and with solid mobility, by default, it's a weapon that can just get the job done in most modes. I had a blast with it in Escort, where I was able to challenge those things at a distance if needed while escorting, but also I was able to clear those areas in close quarters if needed. It's that weird kind of hybrid weapon, I think, that's just perfect for a lot of scenarios. Now, before we jump into the SMG play, another long-range weapon, or medium to long-range weapon that I've been loving is one that for those that have good aim, this one is absolutely for you. You'll get rewarded with this for sure. That is the Mark 20 SSR. Now, the SSR is a marksman rifle, 10 rounds per mag, slow fire rate, but whew, if you are precise, it will pack a punch. It can kill in 2 shots. Seems like even 1 in some rare cases, although truth be told, I was playing so much that I'm not sure if that was like headshots I was hitting or the few occasions where an enemy was already damaged per se. That kind of stuff, when I remember it happening, it was where it was in engagements where I wasn't really paying attention to details, since it was all kind of like fight or flight stuff, just trying to stay alive. But the marksman rifle is seriously so good if you have a good shot. I love this on escort modes where you knew the basic flow of gameplay. Domination Ignition, Occupy, and Hotshot, those are all pretty volatile in terms of spawn flips and locations, but with Escort, it's just a giant game of tug-of-war, so you knew, for the most part, where enemies would be coming from and being in front of you. So it's a great defensive weapon to hold enemies back, but you can also fry with it while you're pushing the objective as well. If there's a weapon that may like push you out of your comfort zone in XDefiant, but has tremendous upside if you can get used to it, it's absolutely the SSR, so try it out. Now, as for the SMGs, this was a ton of fun to play with as well. My primary favorite with the SMGs was the MP7. This thing's mobile, it's powerful for an SMG, tied first in damage in output with the Vector, and only falling short of the Vector in the rate of fire as the second fastest firing SMG. Now, the difference between the two and why I think I'd at least right now take the MP7 every time over the Vector is just base magazine size. You don't necessarily even need to sacrifice a magazine attachment once you rank it up if you don't want to. 35 really is not bad for an MP7 magazine, while the Vector, burning through ammo and burning through it faster, is only 25 rounds a mag at default. So it's a while before you unlock extended mag, so you're gonna be playing a hell of a long time with minimal ammunition and burning through that. So you're not gonna get too many 2 or 3 pieces with that rate of fire and magazine size. But anyways, the MP7 itself, it's a pocket cannon in my opinion. Plays great, feels great. Even as a default build, you can do very well with it. Very mobile, very fun to play around with and rush with. Obviously, as with all weapons, the more you rank it up, the more it's going to do for you. But in this particular instance, and especially as a base weapon you want to jump in to begin with, it is a ton of fun in my opinion. Now, to unlock it, it only takes 20 SMG point blank kills, play some domination. There's a lot of different maps here that are very close and you can force those engagements. I got it done in one game, so shouldn't take too long to burn through. And finally, the P90, the last weapon we'll talk about here in like a larger instance, is a lot of fun, I think. But honestly, it just falls a little short, I think, of being a dominant weapon. Like, I think if you think about dominant weapons, you probably have the MP7, that SSR, the ACR and AK. The MDR, I think, might fall like one below it, and then same thing with this P90 here. Very, very fun weapons, but not necessarily the statistical best out of the bunch. But what I absolutely love about the P90 is the default magazine is 50 rounds. 50 rounds for an SMG right out of the gate, and when you consider rounds for each of the other SMGs, not only does it beat it out, but it's also like, holy crap, I'm using an extended mag on level 1. So it's definitely nice to have all that ammo in pocket to be able to take more engagements as a result, but the fast firing rate of this weapon will absolutely help you literally shred through enemies. It has a little bit of bounce that you might need to get used to, but all in all, it's a just tremendously fun weapon, very mobile weapon, and a solid option, I think. Now, honorable mentions here, the M16 is, again, statistically a very, very good weapon, but frankly, playing around with it a lot, it is very situational based, where again, if you're a newer player, you're jumping in for your first weapons to use, it might not be as forgiving because you have to hit every shot of your burst and then some. So 2 bursts by default, you end up having that burst delay as well. You just might not get into the most favorable situations with it, but again, if you're good with it, you're accurate, and you can end up getting enough flank routes, you can do incredibly well with it. But again, I just put it like right below the MDR personally speaking, but I didn't want to go into like 4 different rifles and have it that top heavy, so gonna put that one as an honorable mention. And another honorable mention, I think, is the M249, where obviously if you like ammo, you have 100 by default, but it's a very slow, immobile weapon, but can pack a punch. So again, it's one of those situational ones that it's up to you if you'll enjoy it or not. But all in all, those are the weapons that I've been playing around with and absolutely loving. So let me know your thoughts down below on any weapon that may stand out to you or anything you're really enjoying. I'd love to hear from you. But for now, if you want to jump in and try out a few weapons at the very beginning or anything like that, give these ones a go. I definitely don't think they'll disappoint. But anyways, that said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more XDefiant and other FPS coverage. I'd love to have it in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.